Hey guys, today I'm going to run through exactly how to calculate your profits when selling on Amazon. One of the biggest mistakes that sellers make is not having enough profit margin to begin with. Without a decent amount, you're going to find it really tough when you come across unexpected expenses. Whether it be an extra tax, or Amazon raises their fees, or storage fees, or whatever the case may be, this will happen. It's just part of doing business. So you really want very healthy margins to begin with. Remember, it takes the same amount of work to launch a product with a $5 margin as it does for one with a $50 margin. Let's get to it. So a good way to think about your budget is by splitting it into two categories. The first is your ongoing costs, and second is your startup costs. Ongoing costs include your product cost, shipping, FBA fees, and PPC spend. Startup costs are typically once-off things, including samples, photography, design work, giveaways, and anything else related to the launch of your product. So let's begin with ongoing costs. A great free tool you can use is Amazon's FBA revenue calculator. Just Google Amazon FBA calculator and it should be the first result. Step 1 is to search for a similar product, such as a competitor's. This is because it will calculate fees based off of the dimensions, weight, and category. So it does need to be similar. Begin with the sales price you expect to sell at. We'll say $24.95. Next is ship to Amazon. This may be made up of two prices. First is your shipping cost from China into the US, typically covered by your freight forwarder. Let's say they've given me an air quote of $3,900 for the 1,000 units that I'm sending in. That's $3.90 per unit. If you're unsure what your shipping cost could be, then here are some rough rules of thumb for you. All you need is the product's weight from your supplier or even just the Alibaba listing, and you can calculate an estimate of what it will be. You'll also have to ship from your freight forwarder in the US, that final distance into Amazon's warehouse. Amazon offers discounted rates for shipping within the US, and you can see this cost when you set up a shipping plan in Seller Central. In this case, it's $60 or 6 cents per unit. So our total ship to Amazon cost is $3.96 per unit. Finally is your product cost, which you can get from your supplier. This is most commonly a FOB price, or freight on board. This term just means that a supplier is responsible for delivering the product from their warehouse to the port in China. After that, the shipping cost is on you. So let's say our FOB price is $3.45. Calculate, you'll now see your selling on Amazon fees. This is your referral fee that's a percentage of your sales price, usually 15%. Then your FBA fees are made up of a monthly storage fee and your fulfillment fee, which covers Amazon's pick and pack and handling and so forth. This gives us a total of $8.58 in Amazon fees. You then see down the bottom that once you take away all of these costs, you're left with $9 profit or a 36% profit margin. As a rule of thumb, I'd aim for a margin of at least 30% or higher. The trick when you're doing product research and you're using these calculations to help your decision on what to sell is to try different sales prices and see what your profit margins are at each one. So let's say you're looking at page 1 of results on Amazon and you can see that the lowest price there is around about $18. The highest price product is perhaps $30, and then the average price is around $22 for a lot of listings. If you're offering something similar, then you'll probably aim to sell yours for $22 also. Or maybe you've fixed a problem or you've got a higher quality product and you feel confident that you could sell yours for $25. Great, I'd put $25 into the calculator, but afterwards I'd also put in $18. See what your profit margins are like at this price. You know, this is the worst case scenario. If you can still make a small profit or break even at this point, then you can feel more secure selling this product. If worse came to worse, you can still sell it out. Also, when you first start out with low reviews, you may want to price yourself lower to get more sales, perhaps closer to this $18 mark. But even if you're only making a very small profit at this price, that can be okay if you can see that you will be able to increase your price in the future. So now let's talk about another resource for calculating profits. But real quick, just before I do, are you finding this video useful? If so, it would mean a lot if you could let me know by giving me a big thumbs up below. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, then consider hitting subscribe and even hitting the bell icon so you get notified every time we publish a video. Thank you so much. Alright, so let's take a look at the profit calculator that we created. If you'd like to download it, you can do so by going to the link in the description below. It's completely free. Now, I've moved across those numbers that we just got. In addition, however, you'll also see a cost for PPC advertising. As a general rule of thumb, this is about 5% of your sales price. Now, this isn't to be confused with your ACOS, or actual cost of sale. This is a metric used to gauge the cost of your PPC spend. Typically, this would be much higher, 20, 30, 40%, or sometimes more. But keep in mind that PPC sales only account for part of your overall sales. So for instance, let's say every 100 sales, maybe only 30 or so might come as a result of PPC advertising. So when you take that PPC spend and average it out across all of your sales, it usually works out to around 5%. So that's how we came to that number. Again, just a rough rule of thumb. So now we've got an even more accurate total unit cost and profit amount, as well as an ROI or return on investment number. This is how much you get in return on top of your original investment. So in this case, we spent $7.41 upfront. That's your landed cost per unit. There are other fees, but they don't come out of my pocket immediately. They come out of the sale once it's been made. And now in return, we get back our initial investment plus an extra 105% on top of that. I typically try and get at least 100% return on investment, but it's okay to be a little bit less to begin with as long as the profit amount is reasonable. Again, you might see that your ROI is a little lower for your first sales price, but you know that you can get it up over 100% when you raise your price down the track. Or keep in mind that you can usually negotiate better unit prices with your supplier in the future as you establish a relationship and place bigger orders with them. And same goes for shipping. This particular quote was via air. However, if we were to ship it via sea in the future, that would bring the shipping costs down quite a bit. Let's move on to startup costs. Again, these are typically once off. You could spend anywhere from $50 to maybe $200 on samples, depending on what it is and how many you get. You might look at professional photography up front, and if you can afford it, then I'd highly recommend it as it does make a huge difference in selling your product. However, you can also save some money here and take really great photos with just your smartphone. And we've got an awesome tutorial to show you exactly how to do just that, up here above. This could get you by to begin with, and then you look at professional photography down the track. It's a good way to save money. You might want to get a logo designed on somewhere like Fiverr or our very own Jungle Scout Market to help establish your brand. And then there's promotional giveaways. So this is where you offer a number of your products, let's say 150 units, at a discount of maybe 70% off. To calculate this, let's go back to Amazon's calculator. 70% off of our $25 price equals $7.50. If we calculate, you'll see that the fulfillment cost remains the same. This is because it's not dependent on price and is just a set fee per unit. The referral fee does go down, however, because this is a percentage of the sales price. But what we're looking for here is the seller proceeds. This is actually what is credited to our account. So in this instance, we go into negative $2.42 each sale. This will keep adding up until your 2-week pay period is complete, but instead of receiving money, you'll be charged that total amount if you're still in negative at that point. So we take that $2.42 and multiply by how many units we want to give away, 150 in this example, which brings us to a cost of $363 to run this giveaway. We'll need to have that amount available. Finally, you can add a small amount just for any miscellaneous expenses that might crop up. So while there are a few expenses in the startup column, there are ways to bring these costs down. But to be honest, I wouldn't be too concerned about these as they are just once off. Even if you bump this to 1 or 2K, that's still a really cheap business startup. And if you work hard on your ongoing costs and make sure you've got healthy profit margins there, then you'll have no trouble making back your upfront costs and more. So there you have it. That's how I'd recommend calculating your profits for your Amazon FBA business. Now, I want to hear from you. How much money are you planning to start your business with? Let me know in the comments below. I'm always super curious as I know this amount changes from person to person and we get asked that question all the time. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to subscribe below and like this video if you haven't already. All the very best with calculating your profits and I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys.